Most of the NBA can be traded starting back on December 15th. The trade deadline is February 6th. That means we're in the middle of the unofficial NBA trade season. It's an especially exciting trade season for two big reasons. Number one, we haven't seen a trade in forever. These GMs and front offices have got to be itching to make headlines. Literally, the last trade was the Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook trade back in July. And number two, we are in the post-Warriors NBA, baby. So many teams feel like they're right there. Whether that's total BS or not, it doesn't matter. So many teams feel like we are one move away from winning an NBA championship. In this video, we're gonna break down two teams that should be a pretty interesting buyer, two teams that should be an interesting seller, and two surprising teams that might just stand pat. We will talk about trade targets for each buyer and each seller, and we're getting a lot of good information right now. Adrian Wojnarowski, Zach Lowe from ESPN, blogs all over the place who focus on each individual team year-round. Let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. We are trying to grow this channel. We are releasing 3 quality NBA videos every single week. Hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Instagram, AM Hoops. I watch every single game every night, always posting relevant highlights and opinions. Also on Twitter, at Casey Kiernan. We start with the buyers, and the first team we're hitting is the Milwaukee Bucks. Possible trade targets: Robert Covington, JJ Reddick, and Chris Paul. What they can offer: the first-round pick from Indianapolis that they got in the Malcolm Brogdon trade, their own 2022 first-round pick, and various non-key rotation players. The Bucks situation is fascinating. They're under a ton of pressure to do everything they can to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone in the league who can lure Giannis away in the summer of 2021 will do everything they can. And do you know how often a player like Giannis comes around? Oh, about once every 50 years. That's how long it's been since Lou Alcindor, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was around. They did not retain Malcolm Brogdon this summer to not go into the luxury tax, which is kind of ridiculous because reports say now that they are willing to do so. So what is a possible trade? Well, here's a trade scenario for the Milwaukee Bucks. JJ Reddick for Ersan Ilyasova, Wesley Matthews, Dragan Bender, and that Indiana pick. New Orleans does this mainly for that draft pick. They bail on Reddick in favor of a rebuilding piece to pair with Zion Williamson. None of the veterans they're getting back are on the books for longer than 2 years. That retains their flexibility. And we've already laid out why the Bucks do this, to get better around the edges, to retain Giannis. Now the Chris Paul thing, you see that floated around, but man, that is a tough ask because of how much money CP3 makes. Bledsoe and Ersan Ilyasova plus George Hill works. Plus, if you're the Bucks, do you really sacrifice veteran point guard depth with George Hill included? What if OKC demanded a draft pick? Point is, that Chris Paul trade would be really tough to pull off. Our next interesting team that should be a buyer is the LA Clippers. Their possible trade targets: Andre Iguodala or Marcus Morris. Their trade assets: 2020 first-round pick of their own, Mo Harkless's $11 million expiring contract, Patrick Patterson, Rodney McGruder, basically anyone outside of their core of Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Patrick Beverley. And never count the Clippers out. They're not quite Rockets level crazy, but this current front office has 17 total trades under their belt. That is a ton. Plus, they actually have room to work, which brings us to our Clippers trade scenario for Andre Iguodala. The Clippers get Andre Iguodala from Memphis for Mo Harkless, Jerome Robinson, and their first-round pick. Now, everything you're hearing says that the Grizzlies actually want something in a trade for Andre Iguodala. They don't want to just buy him out. And the reason why the Clippers do this is because that way they don't actually lose out on the buyout market, because Iguodala could sign with whoever he wanted. He could sign with the Lakers, he could sign with the Dallas Mavericks, but right now, what the Clippers have is what those teams don't have, and that's what Memphis wants, and that's that first-round pick. The Lakers and the Mavericks don't have theirs. Plus, this is the biggest moment in Clippers history. The time to win is now. And even though sending that 2020 draft pick would even further leverage their future, it makes sense for a chance to win in 2019-2020. Marcus Morris is also a really interesting trade idea because he already said no to a deal for 3 years, $40 million this summer. He would be a great fit on this team. It's obvious that the Clippers think so. Now, our first seller is Morris's Knicks. Possibly on the block for them We just said it. All those guys they just paid, including Marcus Morris, Julius Randle, Alfred Payton, etc. They need picks. They need any roster upgrade, and they also need flexibility. So with that in mind, the trade scenario for the Knicks, Marcus Morris to the Clippers for Mo Harkless, Patrick Patterson, and a first-round pick. This is a trade we've actually heard already floated out there from ESPN, in fact. Mo Harkless and Patrick Patterson fit that summer of Giannis timeline, and the draft pick does too. Picks are trade assets, and the Knicks could use that in a trade for a star to lure and make it more enticing for Giannis to want to come play for the Knicks. I mean, we already saw this. Stars being disgruntled and wanting to leave their current team. And for some reason, the Knicks are sometimes floated out there as a possible destination for these disgruntled stars. I mean, just last year, Anthony Davis said he wanted to leave the Pelicans, and the Knicks were on his short list. Just imagine what a better position the Knicks would be in to trade for whoever that next big star is if they've got that extra draft pick here from the Clippers. Then with whoever that star is on their team already, that gives them that much better of a chance to land Giannis. Why not? Our next seller is the New Orleans Pelicans. Possibly on the block, Jrue Holiday, JJ Reddick, Lonzo Ball, basically anyone but Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. The needs for the Pellies, future fits with Zion and draft picks. The Pelicans are like the opposite Dallas Mavericks this year. We thought both teams could contend for the 8th seed, but while the Mavericks have shot up, the Pelicans season has taken a nosedive. They were crushed by injuries, inexperience, and a very good Western Conference. The big injury, of course, is Zion Williamson. That gets a lot of headlines, but also veterans like Jrue Holiday and Derek Favors have been out for a time. So our trade scenario for NOLA is Jrue Holiday to Denver for Gary Harris, Malik Beasley, Torrey Craig, and 2 first-round picks. Now, to be fair, Zach Lowe threw out a similar trade, including Michael Porter Jr., but Adrian Wojnarowski immediately said MPJ was untouchable. So instead in this trade, they include 2 first-round picks. Now, 2 first-round picks might sound crazy. It sounds like a significant amount to give up for Denver, but if Denver wants this trade, reports say Jrue Holiday will require a significant return. Now, this could be a moot point because right after that Jrue Holiday report came out, David Griffin flat out denied it.
Everyone wants to believe a guy like Jrue or JJ or Fave would be available because we're not winning, and that's natural. But the reality is nothing's changed about our position at all. When we were in Cleveland, everybody knew we were a buyer, and so everybody said we were interested in people. Well, people identify us as a seller now because of our results, and nothing factual has taken place at all.
That was a pretty strong denial, but all he really said was they don't plan on trading them. It could still happen in the future. Instead, that sounded to me like a front office that's saying our asking price will be steep. Now on to the surprising 2 teams that could just stand pat. Our first one is the Rockets. Of course, they would love to be in the market for Andre Iguodala, Kevin Love, Danilo Gallinari, JJ Reddick if they want to go small. All of those guys provide shooting for when Harden is double-teamed with veteran playoff experience, but the issue is matching salary. James Harden, Russell Westbrook are untouchable. Eric Gordon can't be traded because of his extension. And if they trade Clint Capella for one of those players, then that means Tyson Chandler is their full-time center. And PJ Tucker just feels too valuable for this team. He does too much from beyond the arc and on defense. Even though the Rockets have picks available, they might have to stand pat for the big trade targets this year. Our other stand pat is the Boston Celtics. The C's need size. There's no way around it. This offseason saw Al Horford and Aaron Baines leave, so they're left with Daniel Tice, Enes Kanter, and Robert Williams. Okay, so far, yes, they have beat expectations with that rotation at center. But what happens in the playoffs? You cannot tell me, honestly, that you think they're going to match up well against what the front court offers in the Eastern Conference. They've got to deal with the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Bucks, Joel Embiid, Al Horford in the Sixers. A nice target for them, therefore, could be Kevin Love. What about Steven Adams? Andre Drummond? But like Houston, they just don't have the salaries to match. I mean, go around on the trade machine, try it yourself. There are so many guys that when you think, okay, well, this salary matches, you think, oh, well, no, he feels like he's untouchable to me. The only way that they could do this is if they trade a package of 4 players, but one of those 4 players would have to be Marcus Smart. And do you really think that they would trade a guy who provides so many intangibles and who's a fan favorite? Plus, if you look at Danny Ainge's track record, a deadline trade kind of seems unlikely. The only midseason trade he's ever done in Boston was that Isaiah Thomas trade from the Suns back in 2015. As for the Rockets, I don't think anyone would be surprised if Daryl Morey somehow figured out some wacky 3 or 4 team trade to try to upgrade his roster. But for the rest of the league, it should be, hopefully, a busy trade window with the championship up for grabs.
Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a weekly NBA video.